speaking, please turn it off. Apologies for absence, Angela.
Councillor Abbas Hussain and Councillor Shaw.
Thank you very much. Any other apologies? No, we're all here, I think. Published record of the meeting of the 10th of January and the 17th of January. Can I sign them as a true record?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Remind members of section 106 and also remind members around disclosures of interest. We have no business not covered by the current forward plan and no business of special urgency, but we do have a reference from OSB. And David, are you okay if we move that and take that with the main report? Thank you. Recommendations from scrutiny reviews, we don't have any this evening, and we have no petitions. So the first item is item 8, and it's representation on outside bodies, and this is a fairly straightforward report, just changing one member for another. So I move it as read. Are there any questions, or can we just agree that? Thank you very much. We now move on to admission arrangements for community schools, and over to yourself, Aslam.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Executive is recommended to approve the 2023 and 24 admission arrangements for community schools set out in Appendix A. The Council, as the admission authority for community schools, is required to determine its admission arrangements every year. As you know, the Council consulted stakeholders on reduction to the published admission number for William Austin Infant School to better match supply and demand. This will also enable the governing body to balance the school's budget. The admission arrangement remains unchanged in all other respects. The Council has not received any objections to the proposal. The governing body of William Austin Infant School will be asked to sign a memorandum of understanding to confirm that they would be willing to increase the school admission number at a later date, if requested within a reasonable time frame. The governing body of the infant school have been pushing the Council for this reduction for some time, as they have been worried about the fall in pupil numbers and the implications for their budget. I have written to the chair of the governors of the junior school to explain we will need to consult on a reduction to the junior school's admission number in due course. There should be sufficient capacity in local schools to accommodate the new development on the site of Barnfield College, and this was factored into our pupil projections, and the Council may need to consult on further reduction for other community schools in the future years. Other owned admission authority may consult on reducing their published admission numbers, and continued liaison will take place with academy trusts, foundation and voluntary aided schools in Luton in relation to pupils' forecasts and any capacity issues. So therefore, I ask the Executive for their approval.
Thank you very much, Aslam. Are there any questions? Yes, David.
Not a question. I know it's going to be some time into the future, but you're likely to see another significant housing development on the Enterprise Way Barnfield College site coming forward very soon. So you may need to take that into account when making future provision for primary education.
Absolutely, and you're quite right, and we'll continue to monitor situations and also our projections, which are reviewed on a yearly basis. But currently, there's enough capacity for children who fit in within the criteria of their preference and also the school intake criteria. So we feel that in that school, as well as the surrounding schools, there's enough capacity at this time in the moment. Thank you.
Robin, do you want to move the reference, David?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, another unanimous decision, thank goodness, from Overview and Scrutiny Board, welcoming this Article 4 direction. We are very aware that the current government isn't terribly keen on Article 4 directions, preferring to allow developers to do pretty much what they like, as long as they're making loads of money. But we are minded, this is just for your information, to ask for a report to Overview and Scrutiny Board on the range and possibilities of Article 4 directions in perhaps other directions, as it were, and perhaps some information on local authorities that have been, shall we say, more extensive use of Article 4 directions, because if we can get away with it, they can be very helpful.
Yeah, no problems with that at all, Hazel. No problems whatsoever. Thank you. I'm going to read off my phone because I can't seem to get into the email on my laptop, so I'm going to read it off my phone, so please bear with me. Firstly, the report starts on page 57 and page 63 of the agenda pack and seeks to update the existing Article 4 directions at Butterfield Green and Capability Green. The report was considered by the Overview and Scrutiny Board on the 19th of January. The recommendations are made in light of the recent legislative changes. Changes to use classes order in 2020 resulted in the amalgamation of retail commercial uses such as offices, light industrial and some community and leisure uses to Class C, commercial business and service uses. Changes to the permitted development order in 2021 created a new permitted development right, Class MA, enabling use failing within Class C to be converted into residential dwellings. In order to protect the high quality employment space provided within Butterfield and Capability Green, which play an important economic and sub-regional role, it is necessary to update the existing Article 4 directions, which will expire on the 31st of July 2022. It is recommended that none immediate Article 4 directions are made at both locations, but implemented on the 1st of August 2022 to provide continuous protection. This does carry a compensation risk, as it inevitably means that the new Article 4 directions will be implemented within 12 months of the notice being made to withdraw permitted development rights. The triggers and potential consequences of compensation orders are outlined in paragraph 25 and 31 of the report. The Executive is recommended to authorise the making of a non-immediate Article 4 direction at Butterfield Business and Technology Park to Capability Green Business Park. The non-immediate Article 4 directions propose that these sites are for the removal of the ability to convert commercial business and service use Class C to residential uses, pursuant to permitted development rights within the areas outlined in red in Appendix D and E. 2, to instruct the Service Director of Sustainable Development to consult on the matter in accordance with the legislation and to report back to future meetings of the Executive and the outcome of the consultation to determine whether to confirm the Article 4 directions and bring them into effect. 3, authorise the notices relating to the publicity requirements to specify an effective date to be within 12 months of when the representation period has commenced, to reduce the risk of incremental loss of commercial space in these key employment locations in the interim. Thank you.
Yes.
Being a landlord, is there conflict of interest? Being a landlord, is there a conflict of interest in this?
Not generally being a landlord.
No.
No.
Okay. Questions from anybody? David? Yeah.
So I absolutely 100% support this because I think it's very important that we protect the employment land that we have. You know, it seems to diminishing because I know there's a tendency to want to build on brownfield lands, but at the same time we must protect. You know, we've got our residents; they must have jobs. I guess the question is, are we able to, in the report, extend it out further, and if we are able to look at other sites that we can protect?
The simple answer is yes. Obviously, we have to do that within the resources of the planning department at the moment. Work is currently taking place on the town centre and surrounds, and we are aiming to bring proposals to the Executive in April. Work will follow on the key employment areas and retail areas, and we are aiming to bring that to Executive in June.
Okay. Andy?
Thank you, Hazel. Thank you for the report. I absolutely support it. I guess I'm just frustrated that the government keeps meddling in what local planning decision matters and expanding the category of things that it considers permitted developments across localities, so that we have to respond by saying, actually, no, this isn't a good idea for our town, because it uses all the resources in our planning department, where we'd really love to be getting on with an Article 4 for HMOs in Hightown and maybe some other places as well, because that's a real issue that causes issues in people's lives in our town and in our wards. I think it's just disappointing that government keeps meddling in local planning decisions and extending what it considers to be permitted development, so that we don't have the resources to get on with some of the other things that we believe are really important.
Andy's quite right. It's down to resources at the moment. The planning department, the intention is to, what Andy Hightown is a key area. The intention is to cover all the areas where it's key, but we can only do that with the resources that we have at this moment in time. There are adverts out in relation to planning inspectors. Unfortunately, it's an area again where people are not applying for the jobs, but we keep looking for these inspectors. But yes, we will get round to Hightown and all the other areas that are required with the resources that we have. Hope that's acceptable. Thank you.
Rob, anybody else? Are we happy to agree the recommendation? Thank you very much. We now move on to item 11 and to Kachita.
Thank you. The paper outlines the suggested governance of the Place Board for Luton, forming part of the overall governance and structure of the ICS. Across the country, local places at local authority footprint are developing place-based partnerships to take forward place-based health and care service priorities. Guidance on place-based partnership has been issued, which we are following. Key to place-based partnership is that they are collaborative arrangements made up of health and care providers and commissioners, that they will be part of statutory arrangements, and that they build on existing local arrangements and relationships. In Luton, the Place Board is proposed to be a sub-board of Health and Wellbeing Board, along with the Children's Trust Board and Health Inequalities Delivery Board. Along with these are other two boards, it will be a key driver of the population wellbeing strategy. Governance diagram is given in the document. The initial priorities laid out as part of the Place Board work programme include improving health outcomes of residents with mental health and learning disabilities needs, young people in transition of services, early detection of cancer and CVD, supporting prevention and management of LTCS, frailty and complexity, and vaccination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the report? Are we happy to support? Thank you very much, everybody. I think that brings us to the end of the executive this evening. Thank you for your